7 things men do during lovemaking when he's genuinely in love with you. We're going to dive into this conversation today. So let's be honest, anybody can have sex. But when a man loves you truly and deeply, the entire experience shifts from something that's physical to something that's sacred. So I want to share with you where this video was birthed. It was birthed after seeing this title on YouTube from a couple other content creators. But more importantly, I reached out to a sex therapist because I was intrigued to hear what her experience, her research has told her about, or from her clients have told her what they consider great sex. So this was kind of in the genre of what is great sex. And then we kind of shifted into lovemaking because men don't, okay, let me just be clear. Men don't oftentimes use the phraseology making love. Although some men do, some romantic men do. I would say locker room talk is a little bit more vulgar within men. Not that midlife men are having this locker room talk, but even at my age, guys will speak in a slightly derogatory way when it comes to sex, okay? But I will tell you, as men mature, as men evolve, as men shift after the physical component of a relationship and start to seek that genuine emotional connection in a romantic relationships, things begin to shift. In fact, what's interesting is when I've spoken to men who are deeply in love, who deeply care about their partner, who genuinely look out for their partner's best interests, who have developed trust between the two of them. And trust isn't just about fidelity, folks. Trust is, does this person have my best interest at heart? What's interesting amongst a vast majority of men, they all seem to say the same thing. When they're physically intimate with their partner, they use the phrase, it feels like I'm at home. It feels like I'm at home. There is something deeply sacred when you genuinely care for someone, when you care about their best interests, when you want to give them the world, so to speak. It begins shifting our narrative from the physical act of ejaculation into something more emotional, something more sacred. So in a moment, I'll share the 7 things men do during lovemaking when he genuinely loves you. But I just want everyone to really sit and invite yourself these same answers for these 7 things for those women who are watching to say, are you experiencing the same thing? Are you in the same space? Are you in a place where you're actually wanting to make love versus the physical pleasure that's experienced during sex? Because sex is mostly about physical pleasure. Lovemaking is about something deeper. It's something more sacred, something more at home, as the other men have shared, at least from what I've heard. Okay, so what are the 7 things men do during lovemaking when they're genuine in love with you? The first is they're fully present. They're fully present. There's no distractions. There's no autopilot. He's not in his head thinking about work, thinking about sports, how he looks. He's there with you, attuned to your breath, your body, your emotions. He is present. Have you experienced that when someone is genuinely present to you? It's an amazing experience, whether you're in the bedroom or not. There's just something powerful about being with someone who's present. They're not thinking about the next thing they're going to say. They're not thinking about, did I do the dishes? Did I get enough gas in the car? By the way, I've heard this from women, or that oftentimes women aren't fully present. In fact, I've heard that women struggle with being present because there's this what does Alison Armstrong call it? The berry picking mind that's always looking out for the next thing you have to be prepared for. I would say both men and women struggle being present in this particular case, to check off all the boxes of what needs to be done and to be in the moment. This is what meditation is all about. This is what yoga is all about. It's all the spiritual teachings, is learning how to be present with another human being. And again, when sex is a performative act, We're focused on trying to do it right instead of actually being in the moment to be present. But when a man genuinely loves you, and he's a good man, he's got a good heart, he's attuned to the relationship, he is going to be fully present when you're connecting in this particular way. That particular way? Come on, Jonathan. When you're making love, when you're having sex with another person, okay? Number 2, he slows down. This isn't a race to the finish line. A man who loves you wants to savor the connection. It's not a rush through it. It's more he's more interested in your experience than just getting off. He slows down. There's something, again, coming back to the sacredness of this. There's something, when you're making love, it's beyond the ejaculation. In fact, the ejaculation is irrelevant. Now, I will say us men oftentimes have a big, gigantic ego. I just spoke about ejaculation or orgasm. We have a big, gigantic ego, and we want to know that we've pleased our partner. But a man who's genuinely in love, a man who genuinely cares about your well-being, he slows it down because there's also foreplay that's part of the equation. It's to build that up so you get out of your monkey mind or that berry picking mind we talked about a moment ago, and you can actually lean into it. There's something about slowing down the breath. By the way, I need to learn this because when I'm doing my videos, I'm always talking 110 miles an hour. By the way, if you ever want to get a kick out of some of my videos, watch it at double speed. I am actually very comical at that point. I actually have to learn to slow it down when I'm doing my videos. And the point being is, and I want you to notice as I slow down, you're able to savor the words. You're able to savor the experience. When we actually slow things down, we become more present. We're more attuned. We can actually feel at a different level when we slow things down. And when a man genuinely loves you, and he wants to make love to you, wants to make love to you, he will start to slow things down so you can savor every juicy moment of the experience. By the way, just hearing me speak at a much slower pace, I'm just curious to hear what others think about that, because that's the first time I've ever slowed it way down the way I did in this experience. But it was also an intuitive way of illustrating a point, is that when we can actually tap into our heart, when we breathe, when we're present, when we slow things down, when we dip, when we do that, we are actually starting to connect with that part of us that feels divinity, that feels something sacred, that feels something more alive than just the performance of wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. Number 3, when a man genuinely loves you and he wants to make love to you, he gazes. Not just glances, he gazes. He's actually, in that very slow way, the way I'm looking at the camera right now, he wants to take in your full presence. He wants to take in your body. He gazes at you, not just a quick little glance like that. He is actually taking you in. There's something about gaze, that mesmerized, feeling mesmerized is what happens. It's not just eye contact, or eye contact during sex isn't just hot, let's just say, but it's vulnerable. A man in love isn't afraid to be seen and to see you. That locked gaze, it's emotional intimacy at high definition. Let me repeat that. That locked gaze is emotional intimacy at high definition. There's just something so powerful. And look, for those of us in midlife, we've got wrinkles. Look at my arms sag here. I've got wrinkles around my face. I'm not as handsome as I used to be, nor the women in our midlives. We're not, no disrespect. I mean, certainly beautiful people at every age and every station in life. But I'm here to say, there's just something beautiful about the human body, no matter what shape you're in right now. There's something when you genuinely love someone. In fact, I want to share a story really quickly. My father, who my father, who passed away at 99, was still very George Clooney, Sean Connery handsome, well in his 60s. And my mother was overweight. And I asked my father once, have you ever cheated on mom based on her weight? And he says, never. He said, I always look at your mom the way I first saw her. In other words, that first imprint is what's in his heart, what's in his mind, what's in his vision. When he thinks of my mom, who was overweight, he goes, I always see her as that young person. And I will tell you, my father always gazed at my mother with absolute adoration and appreciation. And there's just something powerful when we look at someone with those affectionate eyes, those caring eyes, those trusting eyes. And we do it from our heart. And there's something beautiful and powerful and magical about gazing into someone's eyes and looking at them. By the way, it's 11:11 right now. Okay, number 4, he checks in. Without breaking the flow, he'll ask, does that feel good? Do you like this? Not because he's unsure, but because pleasure matters. Your pleasure matters to him. Let me repeat that. Because your pleasure matters to him, he'll check in. Because he wants you to feel good. When a man is genuinely in love, he wants to give you the world. It's one of the things we men, there's something so, I got to tell you, I can't speak for women, but I can only speak for the men that I know that are genuinely in love, and for the few moments in my life that I've experienced that as well. I want to give this person the world. I want to make sure that every experience they have is juicy, delicious, healthy, and happy. And so when a man's in love, he will check in with you because your experience matters to him. Not from that egoic place, I want to get her off. I will tell you, I've been in that space plenty of times, okay? But ultimately, when you're experiencing a heart-centered relationship, that's why I said this title says, when he's genuinely in love, he actually wants to make love to you. And again, pleasure is part of the equation, but it's also the emotional, the spiritual, the intellectual. It's all of that combined. And that quick check-in is merely to make sure that we're on the right path in that particular moment. Okay, number 5, he kisses you. He kisses you everywhere. Let me repeat that. He kisses you everywhere. It's not just about the erogenous zones. A man in love kisses your forehead, your back, your hands. He's making love to your whole self, not just your body. That's right. I got to tell you something. It's so interesting how few couples actually stop kissing. And I'm talking about that passionate French kiss after a while. There's something, I got to tell you, first, second, or third dates, there's just something magical about that first kiss. But I see couples who are happily in love and they still French kiss each other. Our mouth is such a pleasure zone. And the way we can please our partners, not just in kissing, but kissing all over the body, kissing parts that, using our tongue in a variety of different ways. We can call that kissing as well. I think when a man genuinely loves you, he wants to ravage you. He wants to taste every juicy part of who you are. And my hope is, as I'm sharing all of these, you're asking yourself, for the ladies watching, you're asking yourself, am I present? Do I gaze in his eyes? Do I check in? Do I kiss him? Ask yourself these things. It'd be interesting to hear what you have to say in this. I mean, do you feel as though everything I'm shared with respects to men, you do the same thing? I invite you to lean in and say, yes, I experience all of this as well. And folks, I think it's important when couples begin, folks, you watch my channel enough to know when I say the penis goes inside the vagina, that's okay, up until that point, it's still game off. But once you have sex, game on. And when I mean by game on, it's imperative to talk about the emotional effects of a relationship. It's not just a transaction anymore. It's about connecting at a heart-centered level. And that's what this conversation is all about. That's what lovemaking is all about, is connecting at a heart-centered level. And I'm inviting you all to lean into that. Number 6, he wants to hold you afterwards. He wants to hold you afterwards. He doesn't roll over or retreat. He wants to wrap around you, breathe with you, maybe even whisper something sweet. The afterglow is the point. There's something so magical when you've had this experience with someone you genuinely, deeply care about. And men experience this as well, as we want to hold you. We want to embrace you. That's why we want to even spoon you afterwards. Breathe that in for a moment. What does it feel like to connect at a heart-centered level? That's what this is all about. And performative sex, yeah, that gets us off. But I'm here to say, isn't the whole point of romantic relationships is something beyond the transaction, beyond the codependency? It's about connecting at a heart-centered level. And what more beautiful way to connect at a heart-centered level is to make love to one another at a deeply heart-centered space. I keep repeating myself over and over and over again. And I ask, tell me, have you, just by the way, post a comment, let me know. Have you experienced that kind of heart level lovemaking? Have you experienced? Just say yes and let me know. And maybe they're not in your life anymore. That's okay too. Just remember how precious that experience was. And then I invite you to, we're going to invite that in for everyone as we come to the end of this part of the video. And number 7, bum, 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 bum. He brings emotion into the bedroom. You'll feel it. Love, safety, sometimes even tears. When a man loves you, sex becomes a heart opening, a soul connection, earth shifting experience. Let me repeat that. A heart connection, heart opening, soul connection, an earth shifting experience. As I said before, men say this feels like home. There's something so powerful about connecting at that heart-centered level. Sadly, we have a wounded population of men in the dating marketplace. And those wounds cause it very difficult for them to tap into their heart. This is why I teach discernment. And by the way, if you need some support from me, check out the links below to schedule a discovery call with me to see if working with a coach is right for you. I suspect many of you have experienced that kind of lovemaking I talked about here. And for those of you that are in that relationship still, I'm going to give you a big, gigantic Jonathan Bear hug. Woohoo! Happy for you. And for those that want to invite that in, we're going to do a little prayer to invite that in for all of us. So close your eyes, put your hands together. God, universe, spirit. For everyone watching this and myself, I invite in a juicy, delicious, healthy, happy relationship where there's wonderful chemistry when we meet. That kind of chemistry where you just know, not from that lust or limerence place, but that place of spirit, that place of knowing, that place of connection. You can already feel your hearts opening to one another shortly after meeting. God, universe, spirit, I invite that in. Also, the kind of communication that the two of you have. It's the kind where the banter goes on for hours and hours at a time. You can't get enough of one another, not because you're each other's therapist, because you're already beginning to develop friendship from the very moment you begin speaking to one another. And the compatibility is so effortless that you can blend lives together in a way that allows you to build the deep roots of trust through shared values, through social activities, through hobbies, through mutual interests, to spending time with family and friends, and intimacy, both physical, having great sex with each other, and lovemaking, but more importantly, that emotional intimacy that builds the deep roots of trust that make you want to say, I'm all in with this person. I'm in love. And in love means in all in. God, universe, spirit, I invite that for everyone watching and myself included. Can I get an amen? All right. Hey, I'd like to hear your thoughts on this video. Post a comment below. I do my best to read them all in the first 24 hours. As always, if you find value in my videos, please hit that like button. Please share this video. Please subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell so you can be notified of new videos. And if you want to connect with me directly, there's links below to schedule a discovery call with me to see if working with a coach is right for you. There's a link to join my group called Midlife Love Mastery. There's a link to follow me on Instagram to get the books I recommend, all listed below. And don't forget my dating vows. In fact, before you make love, you better get my dating vows and recite it to one another before you're physically intimate. All right, those who know my live format know it's time for Q&A. If you have a question, there's a little chat box in the corner. Write the word question, then post the question there after. Or you can purchase a super sticker, super chat. All the money's from, and there's a little $ in the chat box. All the money's from the super sticker, super chat goes to a scholarship fund in the name of my son, Connor Asley. He's my son who passed away over 7 years ago. In fact, a few days ago would have been his 26th birthday. He died at age 19. In his honor, as I said, I donate to causes like the Hoffman Process Insight Institute, scholarships to coaching as well. And our goal tonight is $50. So I'd appreciate some love for the Connor Asley Scholarship Fund. Again, there's a little $ in the chat box. All right, let's see who we have in the house. Looks like everybody is saying yes, they've made love. That's great to hear. Let's keep going. Let's see what we have here. Eleanor says, yes, as a woman, I find male sex lovemaking makes one feel being abused. Okay, I don't get what she's saying. Lovemaking, wait. Male lovemaking is male using women. Yes, it's all about him. That's not what I was talking about in this video, Eleanor. I'm talking about your partner. Everything I shared, when a man is genuinely in love and he's coming from a heart-centered space, won't use a woman. It's a collaborative dance together, okay? All right, if you have a question, write the word question and post the question there after. Otherwise, we're going to look. Oh, and by the way, if anyone wants to join the love seat, join me live. Let's have a conversation. I just posted a link right there. All right, we had a question come in to the board. Hold on. Okay, the question is, I get so excited when I like someone new that I end up oversharing everything about my life. How do I stay a little more mysterious without feeling fake? Interesting. How do I stay more serious without feeling fake? You know what? I don't know okay. You know, I'm thinking of the word discipline. You know, I get so excited when I like someone new. But discipline is about learning to be present, to being present. And I think this, when you're not present, when you're in your head, you're thinking about the future. That's what's happening in this particular case. So how do I stay a little more mysterious without feeling fake? I don't think it's about being mysterious. I think it's about being present. And if you're excited, that means you're thinking about a future. And then you're gaining attachment to that future. And I don't think that's very healthy. So anyways, that's my thoughts on that one. By the way, we want to give props to Debbie. Wow, $50 super sticker. Our goal was $50 tonight. Now we're going to make the goal $100. Thank you so much for the love. We really appreciate you, Debbie. Thank you so much. That's wonderful. Patty says, I think in the past I've been too concerned about what he thought of my appearance. You know what? When a man genuinely cares about you and he loves you, he's not thinking about that. That's a woman's thing. Have you ever seen that meme where an overweight guy looks in the mirror and he sees like Arnold Schwarzenegger? And then there's this gorgeous, beautiful woman in a bathing suit looking at the mirror, and she sees a 300-pound person. I think this is the stuff we make up in our head. Believe me, men aren't thinking about your appearance when they're making love to you, men who genuinely care about you. So, but thanks for asking that question. Empty nesting. I think you can share as long as your partner is interested. Honesty is best. Yes, I would agree. Oh, Debbie points out Shallow Hal. Great movie if you haven't seen it. All right, let's see what other questions we have. Mind Boggling has a question. Do men normally tend to open up after being intimate, like share a side of vulnerability about them that takes you aback? This is a great question. So I want to differentiate between the men who are just driven by the sexual desire of ejaculating. Okay, all they care about is their own needs. I would say for those men, it's an ego trip to have sex. It's for their own ego. Mostly, if they're thinking about your pleasure, it's because it's an ego boost for them. And also the desire of ejaculation. Those the men that are, let's just say, are in it for themselves. Okay. Now, if we're talking about a man who's genuinely in love with you, genuinely cares about you, genuinely wants to build a life with you when he's coming from a heart-centered space, I think this is where you can see the most vulnerability within a man. Now, even the man who's just in it for the ejaculation, he will feel vulnerable because he's literally, there's a release of endorphins, there's a release of different chemicals that happens when we ejaculate. But when a man is genuinely in love with you, genuinely cares about your well-being, genuinely wants the best for you, he might be so radically vulnerable in that moment when he's holding you that he might share his deepest, darkest secret with you. I mean, that's quite possible. And I say this from personal experience. I once, after in my last significant relationship, I shared something very vulnerable, very private, very intimate to my life. And I, just because my heart was open and I trusted this person. Now, was that a little bit too early to do that? Yeah, probably. Thankfully, I was a good judge of character because I shared something very personal to my life, to her. I was very vulnerable. And there's no doubt when a man is physically intimate with a woman who's genuinely coming from a heart-centered space, he could be very vulnerable and open his heart. And it could take you aback. It might catch you off guard. But folks, I'm here to, this video was here to encourage, let's just have some more open dialogue instead of this fantasy way of being in relationship that everything is magically going to work out, because magic fairy dust always works out. I'm here to encourage more deeper, open communication with you and a partner, because that's the real juice of a relationship, is the emotional side, because we no longer are in need of transactional relationships, or at least most of us don't need that. It's all about connecting at a heart-centered level, or at least that's my invitation for everyone, to operate from a heart-centered level. And Awaken to Yoga wants to add, that was interesting what you said about guys who are trying to get you to orgasm from an ego place. I dated someone like that and I couldn't figure out why it felt weird. Now I know why. Yeah, I'm by the way, I'm guilty of this. Okay. I want you to know, Awaken to Yoga, I'm guilty of this. I mean, there's something about, I would say, a lot of men who actually focus on giving you pleasure. Oftentimes it's for their ego boost. It's their ego boost. Now, when a man genuinely loves you, when a man genuinely wants you in his life, he wants to, to please you, he's doing it from a genuine heart-centered space. And it's okay if you don't orgasm. It's okay, because he's not attached to that idea when he genuinely, deeply loves you. But he has to reach that place of deep love. And again, as I said earlier, a lot of men are just hyper-focused on sex for their own pleasure, and they get pleasure when you get off. And that's not necessarily the type of conversation that I'm talking about today. Is this sinking in? Is this resonating with you? Please let me know. I'd like to hear your thoughts on what I just shared. Post a comment below. I'd like to hear if what I just shared made a difference in your life. I want to hear about it. So thank you so much. Okay. Hey, RM Bells just gave us a $3 super sticker. Thank you for the love. Mind-blowing Bongling says, yes, communication is key. Thank you, Jonathan. All right, our next question. Great connection, but sex is always hand stuff oral for me. Then me on top. No variety, no oral for me. He never finishes without my hands. I feel unseen. It's selfish or incompatible. Is this selfish or incompatible? You know, some men struggle for ejaculation. Okay. I mean, especially as men age, they struggle. But sex is always hand stuff oral from me. And so for some men, vaginal penetration doesn't have the same feeling, just like for women as well. I mean, I've heard this from women as well. Some people are more stimulated through oral. Some men are more stimulated by the friction of a hand. A lot of men, because they've used pornography for a long time, are addicted to their own hand getting them off. I had one man call it the gorilla grip, unless I have this gorilla grip. Is it selfishness or incompatibility? There's certainly opportunities I think there's always room to grow if two people are communicating from a heart-centered space. But you say you feel unseen. That's not healthy. I think it's time to have some deeper conversation about your lovemaking, to see if you can get on the same page of what you both desire. That's my invitation for you. But thank you for that question. I appreciate it. Longing for Waves says, great connection. This is the same one. Oh, it's a different one. Sorry. All right. I think we've already covered that one. All right. What else do we have here? RM Bell says, oh, yes, they all want you to get the big O. Really helps them. Exactly. Debbie says, yes, it's sinking in. Happy to hear that. Allie says, when your fiance of 2 years says, that's the best orgasm I ever had every time we have sex, does it mean it, or could he actually be feeling that way? You know what? I think when you genuinely love someone, it just keeps getting better and better. It's because the heart is connecting. I think that's the case, is that your heart is connecting with this person and it keeps getting better and better. So yeah, I think that can actually feel like that happens when you're connecting at a heart-centered level, that the pleasure just keeps getting better and better and better and better. And I think I do believe that. I really do believe that for some people, when you're connecting deeper at your heart level, it just keeps getting better and better. Hey, does anyone want to join the love seat and join me live and we can talk about this? I'd love to have more conversation about this. Hey, if you find value in what I'm sharing, post a comment below. I'd like to hear your thoughts. Also, if you want to connect with me directly, there's links below to schedule a discovery call with me to see if working with a coach is right for you. All right, we're going to give it a few more minutes. Debbie says, RM, you cracked me up. Thank you so much. All right, last chance for questions. Going once, going twice. Third time, there's nothing in the hopper. Hey, folks, I want to thank you so much for being on live. For those of you online, I hope you found value in this conversation. If you did, I want to hear your. All right, we got one more question that came in. Mindboggle says, do men really get confused after intimacy in the sense that there's a bit of distance, but they come back? Yes, that is a very common experience. after ejaculation, there's this flood of endorphins, this flood, or this release, I should say, of chemicals. And it can be overwhelming for a lot of men and women. Okay. And in that moment, there might be a need to connect, to kind of regather your emotions, your feelings. So it's not uncommon that that could happen, that someone could become distant. We talked about when someone genuinely loves you, they get a little bit closer, but there's also this need to kind of regroup, to recalibrate, to recharge your battery. So yes, that is a very common experience for men. So just so you know that. Okay. All right. Great question. Thank you so much. RM Bell says, I always want to join the love seat, but alas, my destiny is spelled out and I have no questions. Okay. Thank you so much. Well, just jump on. It'd be fun to have a conversation, RM Bells. We can just talk about anything. You can ask me any personal questions if you want to do that, if that helps you out. All right. We just post the link there. Let's see. Oh, White has a question. Is it tacky to ask if he's doing that for husband? Wait, is it tacky to ask if he's doing that for husband ego? Well, I would ask a question. I would ask the question, how do you feel? What does it feel like when, for you, what does it feel like for you when I orgasm? Like what feelings come up for you? And just listen to what he has to say. That might be an interesting way to approach it, to ask him how he feels when you orgasm and see how he responds to that. That'd be a way, that would be something interesting I would try. All right. Ava says, what if the wife was always being expressive, artistic, compassionate, and the husband, 44 years married, is naturally the silent type, so the wife gets frustrated? Well, I guess it would depend on what's the context of your relationship. Is your relationship a heart-centered based relationship, or is it a transactional or codependent version of a relationship? I think if you have a heart-centered, the wife wouldn't get frustrated because she's with somebody who's communicating at a heart-centered level. So I would intite you to kind of look at the context of the relationship. Is it more transactional? Is it more codependent? Or is it a interdependent relationship based on a heart-centered level? That would be a couple things I'd want to know. Ariel says, question, if a man keeps distance after ejaculation, we feel like they don't love us. Should we ask? I would ask, you know what? Show the man this video, okay? and say, hey, I was just watching this video, and he says it's not uncommon for men to kind of go distance when they ejaculate. And I'm curious, is that true for all men? That's what I would do. Ask the question, is that true? Ask the question, is this something men do? And then see what he has to say. That's what I would do in that particular case, because then he'll start thinking about it for himself. He'll think about it for others. He'll give you his opinion. He might bring up the movie What About Mary, where there's a scene where they talk about how a man, after he ejaculates, he's his most connected to himself. If you haven't seen the movie, when something about Mary. Hey, folks, I'm going to wrap up early today. I'm feeling a little bit winded. So, hey, did you find value in this conversation? Post a comment below. I do my best to read them all. As always, if you find value in my videos, please hit that like button. Please share this video. Please subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell so you can be notified of new videos. And if you want to connect with me directly, hey, there's links below to schedule a discovery call with me to see if working with a coach is right for you. There's a link to join my group called Midlife Love Mastery. There's a link to get all the books I recommend. And don't forget my book, What the Heck is Self-Love Anyway? Don't forget my book, What the Heck is Self-Love Anyway? Okay, and there's links below to get a copy of my book. All right, we're going to wrap up this video as I always do. First off, give myself a big, gigantic Jonathan Bear hug of self-love. I'm going to reach into the camera and give you a hug of love if that's okay. I'm going to ask you to turn to someone, a pet, a teddy bear, a pillow, and give it or them a hug of love. because hugs are a great source of love. And let's face it, we could all use more love in our lives. I want to thank Debbie for your kind offer, RM Bells, everybody who donated, everyone who asked a question, Awaken to Yoga, RN Lynn, Giselle, Patty, Ariel, Allie, White, Ava, everyone who commented. Thanks so much. Wishing you all super duper wonderful evening. Be well. Bye now.